Welcome friends, family, faculty, and members of the class of 2015. Before I begin, I would just like to thank the members of my family, the teachers, and the coaches who have pushed me through the past 4 years. I appreciate you more than you know. For those of you who are unaware, we just finished our project period here at BA. This is when the students are allowed to choose a project of their own creation and see it through to completion. This year, 3 of my friends and I chose to take on the daunting task of assembling the senior slideshow that will be played at pancake dinner after prom. During the last few weeks of working on my PBL, we collected thousands of photos from our friends, classmates, and other members of the community. In an expert interview we did with a professional wedding videographer, he mentioned the importance of filling your video with what he called goodies, which were the photos that were the defining moments in that time period. It was an interesting experience to go through nearly thousands of photos and choose the very best ones that represented our class. With each photo that held the memory of a classmate, I was reminded of my own Brewster experience. Today, 16 hours or so before graduation, I would like to share with you some of my own goodies, moments that I felt defined and shaped me at Brewster. My first goodie comes from freshman year, which can be summarized in a 22-minute experience that occurred during my first week of high school. It was field hockey preseason and trials had just begun. We were a couple days in when it was time to run a timed 2-mile. I had never run 2 miles before in my life. I also unknowingly had whooping cough at the time. The 2 miles started, and for the first 100 yards, I stuck with the team and thought, this isn't that bad. 22 minutes later, I crawled across the finish line thinking I needed to transfer because Brewster had tried to kill me. Regardless of my near-death experience with the 2-mile, I persevered through freshman year, adjusting to the shock of Brewster, its stads, JBS, citizenship, B&Ps, and the 4 sets of stairs I had to walk up to get to my freshman classes. To my surprise, I made it through the first year, and I truly started to feel at home at Brewster. If we fast forward the slideshow to the next goodie, we reached the end of my sophomore year. My sophomore year had been a very different year from my freshman, and the way that I stepped out of my comfort zone and made a huge effort to be a part of the community. On the Friday night before graduation, just like tonight, there is always some sort of senior gathering where the senior class spends their last few hours on campus together. That year, the entire school was invited to a dance in the Esterbrook parking lot for a few hours before it became exclusively for the seniors. The only options that night were to go to the dance or to stay in your dorm, so everyone went to the dance. I vividly remember this night because it's one of the few times in my memory that nearly the entire student body is together by choice. Brewster boys have this interesting habit of jumping up and down at dances instead of actually dancing. Being 5 feet tall, I usually just try to avoid getting stepped on and weasel my way out of the crowd when this happens. That night, I fought my way out of the jumping horde of high schoolers and got to see what a high school dance looks like from the outside. To be honest, it's a little scary, and I completely understand why teachers want nothing to do with chaperoning them. The reason I remember this moment is not because of the great dance moves, but because I saw so many of my friends and classmates surrounded by people who cared about them, who lived, worked, and who played sports with them. For the last few hours on campus that Friday night, everyone was happy to be here. Everyone in that crowd, jumping up and down, had a smile on their face. Possibly because there was less than 12 hours until summer vacation, or maybe the music was just too loud to hear themselves over. But I really believe it was because everyone let go of their differences and just decided to enjoy that moment together, because this group of people would never be gathered together again. Seeing collective happiness is very rare, and I got to witness it that night, and because of this is one of my favorite Brewster goodies. The most emotional part of creating our PBL time capsule came in the senior year section of the slideshow. I took on the responsibility of gathering the photos for this section, and it was difficult to face the reality that this flood of memories was coming to an end, and I would soon be facing a new chapter in my life. Besides being forced to face the inevitability of graduation, I was also able to look at this most recent year and think about the more meaningful experiences I had had on campus. My last goodie I'll share with you comes during the first all-school of the year. It was a Sunday night before classes started, and one of the only all-schools where kids walk into Anderson completely awake. Everyone was still tan from summer, excited to reunite with friends and to begin with the process of making new ones. Dr. Cooper gave a speech that night about how the following day would be his last of many first days of school. The entire school got to see a picture of Dr. Cooper on his first day in kindergarten, and everyone left excited for the school year to begin. I left that all school with mixed emotions. I was overwhelmed. I couldn't believe that I was about to begin my last year at Brewster, a place where I had experienced so much in what felt like such little time. As I walked back towards the center of campus, I just became so happy. The sun was setting. It was early September and still warm. Our lakeside campus looked beautiful. I couldn't think of anywhere else I would have rather been, or any other people I would have rather been with. This is my favorite goodie from senior year because there's so much possibility in the air, and for those brief moments, I had all the appreciation in the world for the people we are here with. Tomorrow, we'll all walk across the stage in Smith, and though I'll only be going to my house about 100 yards off campus, some of my classmates will be traveling across the world. I just want you to take a second before you leave to remember what I was able to over the last few weeks. No matter the negative aspects, Brewster is an amazing place. We live on a breathtaking campus. We are surrounded by people who care about us. Whether you are here for 4 years or just one, just take a moment to remember how Brewster or someone here has touched your life. Brewster itself is its own goodie, a place that has defined us just as much as we have defined it. Thank you.